Hello and welcome back to Joe's Arcade, episode number next. If you've ever been to Joe's Arcade, you'll notice something is missing from this corner of the room, which is a window. Well, kind of looks something like that. And it's a pretty blurry picture. So we are going to model that in today, minus the curtain. Today is a modeling music, which should be in the description if I remember, is going to be Trench. Might have done this one before, but it's a good album, so I'm going to feel like listening to it right now. But Trench by 21 Pilots. And yeah, let's get to it. So I'm going to actually model this thing off in space, and then I'm going to put it in the on the wall. So I'm going to start off with the frame, and I can pull up my notes here on this too, actually, just as a visual reference, although I do have some supplemental notes as well that that I'll be working off of from my field visit. But this area down here is kind of where most of these dimensions are coming from. So top of this thing is 32.5 inches, and then it is 14.875 tall, 32.5 back. There we go. That's our main frame dimension, I guess you could call it. And we've got a 5/16 of an inch typical square piece of wood stripping that's forming this edge. So I'm going to offset this 5/16 of an inch and delete that interface here. And taking a quick look at my picture here just to make sure I'm going to make the right call. So yeah, the thickness, the depth of that wood is 0.213 inches. Group that up. So that's the total size of our window well here. Then move that away from the wall a little bit. We've got kind of this like aluminum siding that goes back, and from here, from the face of this to the back there, is 8.5 inches. So we're going to go 8.5 back. We'll come down that far. I'm going to actually come to this point. Back to there. So this length is not going to be 8.5 inches, but it's 8.5 from the front here. That's how I have that noted. And we'll come over like that. Like this. Just kind of box this thing out. I'm modeling in this in space because it's going to be a little bit easier to place it on the wall this way, I think. Let's see, put in our top there and our last two sides. And I'd like to give this a little bit of thickness. So let's come out 5/16, say. 5/16. And I'm going to copy this face over to here so I don't have to draw it again. And this way I only have to connect a couple lines. But the other thing that I'd like to do with that is connect it to this other bit of box I've drawn. This is not typically how I actually model this kind of thing, but it's an interesting method to try at the very least. This line is missing. And there we go. Got a box. So I've kind of created a weird extruded box there. We'll move that thing back 40 inches. And taking another look here, I've got the actual window frame now that has to be added. And that is, looks like, typically 1 3/4 inches. So I'm going to actually grab this, and I will offset that 1.75 inches. And that is 3/4 of an inch deep, this dimension here, and I'm going to give it 3/4 of an inch to the glass pane, and then I'll give it maybe another 1/4 inch on the other side. That's not going to actually matter, but I'll just provide a little bit of depth there. So I'm going to grab this. I push this 5/16 of an inch. I'm going to move this the other, what would that be, 11/16 to be an inch thick, and then I will push this out a full inch. But before I do that, let me undo that here. I want to grab the middle here, and I've got a window pane that is, or a divider between the two window panes, that's 0.65 inches. So divided by 2, that's 0.325 inches. Drag that down. Go 0.65. Bam. Okay, so now I'll drag, not that part, I'll drag this part back, cut out my window. And then I'll create the actual glass of the windows in here. This is going to be another one of those that I partially texture, at least for the moment, but not the whole way. I'll grab those both. I'll move them 0.75, and then I'm going to come over here to glass and mirrors. And I'll try a sky reflection glass on those, see how that looks. What does the blue look like? I think I like the sky reflection the best. Blue might be okay, depending on how it looks when I actually put this in place. I may go with the blue. Okay. So I've got that. this piece in here actually tapers slightly. So it is 0.65 inches here, but not at the nose. So I'm going to add a break line here. And that is actually 0.28 inches. Wide here, so 0.14 split over 2, 0.28. I'll grab this and I'll move it on green to there, and this piece, and I'll move it on green to there. Okay, and I want to grab these also, and I'll move them out probably like 1/10 of an inch or something, just so they're not, you know, so it doesn't start tapering right on the glass. Okay. And what other little bits need to be done here? So if I go to metal, let's see what we have for metal. Looks like we've got some aluminum texture, so I will apply that to these faces. And really this looks similar. It's kind of like an aluminum color paint. Let me see what happens if I just use a slightly different texture. I think that looks okay. So I'll go ahead and apply this one just to differentiate them a little bit. And just for good measure, I'll hit all the way around that thing. Okay. And this outer frame, it's looking pretty similar to this texture that I've used around the doors. So I'll go ahead and put that strip to a texture as well. So I guess I lied, and I am kind of texturing this whole thing. Okay. So now the other piece that I want to go ahead and do here is going to be a curtain rod. So this curtain rod, unfortunately, is pretty much only detailed on my supplemental notes here. But I think I'm going to do a profile and then revolve it to create it. So the end of it is gonna be let me take a look here. Don't want to get this wrong. It is 0.4 inches. So 0.2 would be half. And I see what's going on here. I've started off wrong already. So, okay. 0.125 inches is going to be the end diameter, and it is extruded 0.134 inches. .134. And at this point, it becomes 0.2 inches. And it tapers down like that. And then from there, it jumps up to be 3/4 of an inch in diameter. So 3/4 of an inch, 0.75 divided by 2 minus 0.2 is an extra 0.175 inches this way. And it goes 0.36 inches level. And then from here, it takes 0.636 inches to get back to 0.2 inch radius. So this is kind of like the end section. The total length of this curtain rod is 38.5 inches. 38.5 inches. I'll grab that, and instead of erasing, I will copy it. Then I'll scale it to mirror it. And I'll put it down at this end. And then this all connects. And we've got a nice shape here. So, I'm going to try this out and see if I can figure it out without too much hassle. I'm going to just draw a big old circle here. Let's go a 12-sided circle. Nah, let's go a 16-sided circle. Not skimp on the sides too much, but not go overboard either. I'm going to grab that thing in the center. But I want to delete the face. I don't want that getting in my way. And I'll put that here. Okay. And run a follow me tool. And I'm getting a warning. It doesn't like me very much. Okay, trying again. I'll draw my circle on the extrusion cross section, which I think is what it was complaining about there. Delete that. Run the follow me tool again. Oops. And I'll do a full revolve. And it seems to have worked, but we got to reverse that and orient my faces. And there I've got the curtain rod. Make that a group. And that is kind of this brassy color. Okay. I'm going to have to eyeball where that falls on the frame as a whole. But I do know that it is centered. So I can come up here, find the midpoint of this line, and go to the midpoint in my group there. And that's not a bad start. And I'm going to start moving this whole thing into position. This edge from the ceiling is 2 3/4 inches down. So 2.75 down. Something has gone awry. Let's grab all of that. Move it to my ceiling there. And now move that down 2.75. Okay. So the curtain rod has got to move out in front here. Let's move that to the face here for starters. Then I'll figure out exactly how I'm going to position this thing. And just kind of eyeballing how it should look. It's going to be just above that when I'm all done. So say it's half an inch up. And I will also move it 1/4 inch out. And we can't have just a floating curtain rod here. But we also don't want to take a whole bunch of time modeling a brackets for it. These brackets do connect to the wall though. So I'm just going to work something real quick up here. Saying this is the wall face. I'll draw like a 1/4 inch. That is 1/16 inch thick, 1/4 inch, bam. I'm going to align that first just so it's a known dimension with there. Then I'm going to move it back 1/2 inch. And I will pull this face that I've created out in space out to this edge here. And I'm going to move it an extra 1/16 inch. And I'm going to grab the whole thing and I'm going to move it down by its thickness, which is a 1/16. Oh, not quite. Let's move it down by 0.2. Nope, too far. All right, we're going to snap it to here, final answer. That looks nice enough. And we'll take that 1/16 inch. And move this up. What is going on here with some of these distances? Let's redo that. I want to drag this guy to be there. Getting some perspective distortion, I think. Which is not a real thing. I've just made that up. Yeah, there we go. 1/16 inch. 1/16 inch. And now I'll pull this up to, just past the halfway point. And I'll hit it. And I will make that also brass colored so it kind of blends in. Again, not super detailed, but something that's going to look more believable than it just floating in space. I'll create a 1/16 inch extrusion here then also, and I'll pull that down 1/2 inch. I'll take this and I'll move it out. Yeah, sure, 1/16 looks fine. Give that some depth and that way it's supported by something. think I moved this in a 1/2 inch. I sure did. So I will grab it, copy it over here, and move it in a 1/2 inch on that side. Okay, so the last step here is going to be putting this actually into the wall. From my pictures, I know that this curtain rod butts directly up against an outlet. And I happen to have some of these outlets here. And from just being there, I know that it butts directly against an outlet. And I know that that outlet is centered 25 inches from the corner here. So I can draw my line here, 25 inches. Just so it doesn't look crazy in this view, I'm going to rotate this guy 180. And I'll place that centered on my 25 inches. And then I'll butt it up against the wall. This whole window assembly can go on the details layer, and I will group it. Didn't work. Let's try grouping that again. There we go. Much better. This strip of wood goes into the wall like that. And this end butts directly into the outlet. Okay. The outlet comes back out here. Looks like I already copied that guy. So it actually gets deleted. Okay. Next step then is going to be the wall. I am going to trace my window frame. Like so. And I will just go ahead and drag this out the width of the wall. And there it is. Nice, beautiful window. It's looking pretty grayish. I'm going to experiment real quick with using our different glass options. Try the translucent glass. I kind of like that a little bit better. It's got a little more contrast with the gray. So I think we'll leave it that way. And there we go. The curtain is going to go on later because that's a more complicated process. I'm going to have to create a custom texture for that. We'll see if I'm even up to that challenge, but I think I'll be able to figure it out. So for now, I think that's where we're going to leave this one. But nice traditional basement window. There we go. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying as we're getting close to the last details here, and we'll see you next time. Adios.